Any luck, Al? So there is a way to call in on your cell phone too, which can sometimes work. If the microphone doesn't, it's on the agenda. I think if you dial any one of the numbers on the agenda under iPhone or telephone, it'll bring you here. I say we just give Al a moment.
Could you? I'm very sorry.
Oh, we got you, Al. We got you. You're on.
Oh, it came back?
Yeah.
Seems like it's working fine.
Okay, thank you so very much. I'm sorry. I'm going to X out this box and see if I can stay with you folks. It's all right?
Absolutely.
Sorry. I had to update the thing, and whenever you have to update, you introduce all kinds of computer gremlins. And my IT chief was, unfortunately, she wasn't here.
Been there, done that. So I'll call this Conservation Commission meeting to order, it being on or about 6:30
in progress.
p.m. on Monday, February 13th, 2013, in keeping with an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of the emergency, as amended by Governor Baker on February 12th, 2022. The meeting will be conducted remotely via Zoom. Attendance by board and commission members will be remote, and remote attendance shall count towards a quorum. This meeting is being videotaped and recorded and will be available after the meeting on ECAT. Before we begin the meeting, I just want to announce briefly the passing of John Grant, who many of you may know. John served this commission for 41 years. And I wanted to let everybody know that I was shocked by that number. I mean, we have 3-year terms, so think about that in decades and how much the town changes in just 10 years. John's funeral is tomorrow at 11 at Kane. I wanted to sort of make you guys aware of that in the event anybody could attend. I think Rory is planning to say something and talk about John's achievements throughout his 41 years of service in this commission next week. But I wanted to briefly let everybody know, and in continuing John's legacy, start this meeting off with a roll call vote.
Benson, present.
Carroll, present.
Grossman, present.
Spady, present.
So let's call our first order of business. 499 Bay Road, Greg Swan, Easton Public Works, applicant notice of intent for proposed communication wire replacement at well number 6.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Hello.
How is everybody tonight?
Good, how are you?
Good. I'm here tonight to 499 Bay Road. Jen, do you want me to jump right into this, or do you want to preamble it, or? Okay, so how many? 499 Bay Road is location of one of our pump station number 6 for the water division. It's fed by a wellhead field to the southeast of it, about 3,000 feet away. It's communicated, the the wellhead is communicated. The wellhead field is controlled through the pump station by a conduit that runs over the area that we're proposing for replacement tonight. When the wire was installed in the early 90s, but it was just laid in the ground. It was not encapsulated in any type of conduit. So the conduit, the wire has since failed and needs to be replaced. So that's why I'm here tonight. We have to cross through an area of flood zone adjacent to the wetland. The area was permitted originally in Concom in the 90s. We're just replacing the wire. We're going to put a conduit in, so this doesn't happen again, and we don't have to worry about it. If something does happen again in the future, we can just pull a new wire through the existing, the would-be existing conduit, and we wouldn't have to worry about going through this and coming to see you fine folks. Not that I don't mind seeing you, but it's nice to have water in town that works. So.
Greg, can you just show your plan, please?
Am I doing it? Oh, I gotta share my screen. Yeah, hold on a second. Bear with me for a second. Everybody see that?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, so the whole project is actually encapsulated. It starts here at Bay Road, and from here to the pump station, located at about 400 feet away. The conduit then would cross over the path adjacent to Ward Pond and then turn south. The area that we're asking for the permit for tonight is the area here that would require, because we're in a floodplain. We're not changing any grades over here, any elevation. The work would take a day or two at most. We're going to excavate the trench, put the material in a truck, place the conduit, backfill that same day. If it takes them no more than a day, it's because we had some inclement weather or there was an emergency, like that. The remainder of the work has actually been completed at this point, the area that outside of the floodplain and not requiring an NOI. So we're they're working very hard to get this done in a timely manner, just so we can get the wellhead going back on. The substation can come back online and we can get back to pumping water for the area.
Greg, can you just use your mouse and point out the Wheaton Farm barn and the community garden in case that helps people orient themselves?
Yep. Is it right here? Yeah. This area right here is the Wheaton Farm area right here.
Right, that's the community garden.
So yeah, it looks like there's no way to avoid going through this floodplain.
No, unfortunately, this is the only place that. Again, this is where it was originally laid as part of the original permit from 30 some odd years ago.
Yeah.
If we could have found some other way to do it, we would have. But this is where it is.
Yeah, I think my one comment to the commission is: do we want conservation markers with this? I would say, given the limited nature and the fact that it's really repair work, I don't think it's necessary, especially if it's town property. Any comments from the commission?
Now, guys, so what did you guys do with the field a couple weeks ago? You guys did that so fast and made it look, it never even happened. It was so awesome work. It was killer.
That actually is credit to Steve Legenda, our town electrician. He moves. He's probably the hardest working guy at DPW.
It was literally like I had a fluid 4-hour shift. And I drove to work, saw it getting dug up, and I came back, it was filled. I'm like,
yeah, no,
the whole field.
Yeah, no,
Awesome.
Steve has a project, he gets it done.
Yeah,
Especially with this, we wanted to make sure we had an advantage. Fortunately, the weather this winter has been rather warm, very inclement, very advantageous for construction. So we had some opportunity to get some work done, and we took advantage of it. So we're just waiting to finish this little piece here and get it connected, and we can get the wellhead, the pump station back online.
I'm sure we're in good hands.
So the majority of the work in the buffer zone and the riverfront area is exempt from Wetland Protection Act, including the work in the floodplain. Under our town bylaw, it's exempt in the buffer zone and the riverfront area, but not in the floodplain. That's the only reason that they're here for a permit. Greg, I think on the application, it says it's land court property. If you happen to have the certificate number, I have to add that to the permit. So if that's something,
Okay. Yep, and I'll have to track that down. I'll have to work with Robbie on that one.
yeah, see if you can find that, please.
Yep.
And then the only thing I noted was, it's not likely to happen, but if during the trenching, there's any sort of frack out, it's good just to have an idea of what to do and just in case. So I don't know if you guys have a turbidity curtain available, just have it on site during construction.
Okay.
Okay, those are my only comments.
Okay. That should be pretty straightforward.
Thank you. And any members of the commission have comments? Any members of the public?
We have a lot, but no hands.
Seeing none, Greg, would you like to close?
Yes, please.
Okay. Motion to close the public meeting for 499 Bay Road.
Benson, second.
Roll call vote.
Benson, aye.
Carol, aye.
Rossman, aye.
Spady, aye.
Motion to issue a notice of intent relative to the proposed work at 499 Bay Road.
Spady, second.
Roll call vote.
Benson, aye.
Carol, aye.
Rossman, aye.
Spady, aye.
Good to go.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good night, everybody.
Night.
Just getting my agenda back out. Let's move on to 2 Washington Street. Collins Civil Engineering representatives, notice of intent for proposed construction of a horse barn and paddock for an existing residential house.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, to get started, I'm gonna pull up a copy of the plan. This should reflect all of the latest revisions based on the staff reports. For the record, Peter Lyons with Collins Civil Engineering Group. We're here tonight with Mr. Peter and Sharon Kelly, the property owners and clients for this project. This is a notice of intent, as mentioned, for a proposed horse barn and paddock area in the rear of their property at 2 Washington Street. This property is just south of the Stoughton line on the east side of Washington Street. It's an existing residence with an accessory structure, a 42 by 55 foot garage in the front of the property. Going back into the site, we have a BVW delineation to the north and a isolated land subject to flooding area delineated in the bottom. So it's kind of busy on the plan, but the orange buffer is our 50-foot buffers to the resources, and the purple buffers in the front and in the rear corner are 100 feet. We also have an additional wetland flagged as C1 through 8 in the northeast portion or the rear of the property. Just to point out, the existing tree line for this project is pretty much paralleling the wetland flags through the backyard here. Our proposal is to provide a natural ground, but a cleared access path to an opened up paddock area with a proposed 20-foot by 30-foot structure being a horse barn to contain one horse for the client. This area is basically a proposed corral style fence set just outside of the 50-foot buffer. So you see our 50-foot buffer is orange, and the red line with the circles, that's the proposed fence location. It is a kind of metal, your typical horse fence. We do have pictures that have been uploaded to the permitized site for that. So basically we're looking to clear out this existing area outside of the 50-foot buffer. There's a lot going on this plan I'll try to point out some of the things, and then I'm sure the commission's gonna have questions. To handle the roof infiltration here, we've proposed some flow diffusers set just outside of the 50-foot buffer and also outside of the paddock area to keep the equestrian traffic off of this system. We've provided a manure storage or placement area, basically maximizing our distance to all of the 3 mentioned resource areas in the southeast corner of the site. While we're down here, just point out, we've proposed, it's about 2,300 square feet, 23,000 square feet, I'm sorry, of fenced in area outside of the 50-foot buffer. We are additionally proposing underground utilities consisting of a water and an electric source that will be trenched from the existing structure down the access path and into the proposed barn. We have provided a trench detail on the left side of the plan, basically showing sufficient cover over the water service and tracing tape over any electrical wires. To offset some of this project, mostly the access within the 50-foot buffer, we've proposed a mitigation area offering a greater than 1-to-1 mitigation. We've proposed 1,300 square feet to be revegetated with some white oaks, some inkberry, and an upland meadow grassy mix to fill in between. Erosion control for the duration of this project would be just outside of the proposed fence limit. There's not really going to be any grading going on the site. It's overall a very flat, already established area. So we would just be clearing the vegetation within the 50. So we've proposed 12-inch composting silt sock, starting at some existing storage containers and wrapping it around the entirety of the proposed clearing. Again, basically paralleling that 50-foot buffer. This site in, I believe it was 2018, this accessory structure in the rear of the property was constructed. Part of that was the installation of a bunch of wooden conservation post markers. So we're looking to kind of continue that theme, and you can see a bunch of proposed conservation marker locations just outside of the proposed fence. Those are approximately every 20 to 30 feet, wrapping around the entire 50-foot buffer. Let's see, that's kind of my quick overview. I guess, Jennifer, if you have any comments or you would like to direct me where to take this from here.
Yeah. So there were a number of comments in the staff report. Peter, do you just want to go over the letter that George wrote addressing those?
Sure.
Just sort of touch on each one, right? So C1 is please label the driveway type.
Yep. So the driveway type, as mentioned, I don't know where maybe I'm missing the label, but that's just going to be a natural, I don't know if I'd even call it gravel. It's basically just going to be, after the construction, it's just going to be a natural, dirt access out to the existing. It will be exclusively used for livestock access and occasional equipment passage, tending to the livestock and manure removal. Comment C2 was pertaining to the mitigation area and planting density. Our response to that, we have more than doubled the proposed mitigation area to bring us to a total of 1,300 square feet. It was asked where we came up with the planting scheme. We did recent work for under notice of intent at 111 Washington Street, and similar conditions, and these were the planting species that the commission had approved recently in the same, more or less the same area of town on Washington Street. same proximity to the resources, so we felt that that was an appropriate choice of plantings.
Okay, let's stay there for 1 second, Peter. So the question is just, how'd you come up with the spacing? So trees, 1 every 10 feet on center, shrubs 8 feet on center. That's what I'm looking for. Just how you
Sure.
come up with the spacing.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the white oaks, obviously, those are going to grow tall over time. So we've only proposed 3 of them. They're spaced out about 20 feet apart. We've proposed the inkberry in clusters of 3. Those appear to be about a 6 to 8 foot spacing on center. And then you have your upland meadow mix, basically just spread throughout that entire area at a rate of 8 pounds per 1,000 square feet.
Okay, and then the other question was, is inkberry common to the area? I don't remember seeing that during my site inspection.
I am not sure of that. The plantings are not really my specialty. I know that, like I said, we just took the approved planting schedule from a job we did right up the street, assuming that that would be acceptable to the commission. You know, if there's an alternative that the commission would prefer.
Yeah, so when you're doing the mitigation, you're looking for plants that are on the property in that area. So it's not so much a recipe for use the same planting plan and configuration for every project. That's okay. So C3.
C3. This is a note pertaining to the residential garage restoration area, and the requirement for the seed mix to be planted. It was not done at the time, so this would be incorporated into this current mitigation area. That would be our proposal.
Okay, to remove the fill, not try to plant in the gravel.
Yes, yep, so there's between 1 to 2 or 3 feet of filled material back here. So that would be, as noted in the blue, to remove the fill, provide a fresh, 8 inches of loam on top, and surround that with the straw wattle down slope between the mitigation area and the wetland.
Okay, and so when that's completed, the wetland markers will go in the front of the mitigation area?
Yeah, that makes sense, yep.
Okay. So C4.
C4 is pertaining to the proposed fence. Explain the rationale behind the movable fence and how the buffer zone markers will be readily seen. Again, we're proposing I think it's a 5-foot steel fence that it's movable in the sense that it's not secured into the ground. It's not really movable by the animals or anything. They sit on kind of a T-style leg, which can be pinned into the ground.
So I guess the question is, if the commission requires a permanent visual barrier, what's the assurance that the fence won't get moved closer to the wetland?
I mean, I guess it's the follow-up inspections from, us as the engineer and the commission.
But you're saying they can be staked in the ground?
They can, to my knowledge, yep, they can be, made more permanent. No, we're not installing, concrete fence posts, which obviously is the more permanent solution. Typically, this is what's done in a livestock setting. They're pretty significant fences, you don't really just push them back 10 feet. Yeah, I guess that's basically up to the word of the homeowner or the client to not move them. Again, the commission's going to be on site, as well as us as the engineers, providing any final type as-built for the project. So we would be overseeing, you know, the final placement and location of it. The conservation markers we have proposed behind the fence, simply so the horses aren't, you know, attracted to it. We don't want them chewing the conservation plaques off of the basing of the fence. The face itself is going to be your primary, you know, visual barrier, keeping people and the livestock out of the resource areas. You know, the conservation tags on behind the fence are just going to act as a, you know, obviously the client doesn't need a reminder, but that's going to be our due diligence to keep the 50-foot buffer area preserved.
Okay, so C5?
C5 pertaining to paddock area vegetation clearing. Yes, all of the underbrush and small trees will be removed within the paddock area. Larger trees will remain in place. The ground surface is to be kept natural. We have shown one tree on the plan. If you can see my mouse moving around, that's I believe, if I recall, it's like an 18 or 24-inch significant tree that we've rerouted this entry point to avoid having to disturb that tree. So that's the significant one within the 50-foot buffer we are preserving. The rest of the area, again, is just basically to be grubbed out and cleared of the low vegetation. So that would be C5. Any other questions on that one?
So 6 is really under the bylaw. Once all of the shrubs and herbaceous layer are removed, that's changing the CN value and the stormwater infiltration for that area. So it looks like you're proposing something for the barn. Anything else provided for the rest of the clearing, just to make sure stormwater doesn't go onto somebody else's property?
Yeah, so just in our notes, we mentioned it's an accessory structure to the existing single-family home for non-commercial use. The applicant is proposing to keep one horse there, a roof infiltration system for the proposed barn has been shown on the plan. So that is our effort to, you know, to mitigate any additional runoff from the property. We are slightly changing the soil infiltration values. We're not changing any drainage patterns on the site. Everything currently drains from this high spot up here, 193, down towards the north and the northeast. So we're not altering any drainage patterns. Most of this drainage is contained entirely on site here. The wetlands to the northeast extend out into a significantly wooded area. We're not anticipating any, you know, direct abutter impact from this project.
7 was about architectural plans, but you don't have those yet. You submitted a picture of what you're hoping it to look like. That's fine.
Yeah, it's a pretty, I guess I'd say a standard 24 by 30 foot, you know, your red kind of single level horse barn.
Okay, and so 1 horse.
Yep, 1 horse.
They keep the feed in the barn?
I believe that would be the intent, yes.
Okay. And then the comment about adding the trench detail to the plan, so that's on there. You talked about manure management, southeast corner of the property.
Yeah.
Okay. And so a company they'll have the manure taken off site, or what's the plan for that?
I am not sure of that plan. I believe Mr. Kelly is he's in the meeting if we want to call him up. I know he said he might have issues with his microphone. I don't know if you see him, if you want to try to promote him to say a couple words.
I saw him in the beginning, and I don't see him now.
I don't
Unless,
see him either.
I mean, unless he's Samsung.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I know they're having some technical difficulties.
Mr. Kelly, raise your hand if you're here. I'll promote you up.
Oh, there he
He
is.
is Samsung.
There you go.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Did you do it, Ben, or should I?
Oh, no, I did not.
Oh, okay.
That's funny. We both just walked away from it.
There we go.
Hello, can anybody hear me?
Yeah, there
We
you
can
go.
hear you.
Okay, hello, yeah. So, yeah, so the manure will be taken up to the barn that the horses currently, they use it in some sort of way. I'm not really sure if they use it for compost or whatever, but Mac DeMeyer is my neighbor across the street, and he's the one that will be able to transport it if I don't take it up myself. He has
Very good.
machine.
Okay.
Is there any other questions?
Not yet.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Just confirmation that the horses will stay in the paddock and not be walking through the wetland.
That is the intent, yes.
Then did you want to go over the waiver, please?
Sure.
Okay.
We are requesting a waiver from performance standard, section 503-20, pertaining to working within the 50-foot buffer to the wetland. The proposed mitigation area will provide some food and shelter benefit to wildlife and will help provide water filtration, enhancing the surface water quality in the area. Mitigation is proposed in exchange for site access to the back of the property, an area that is currently undeveloped, offering minimal food and shelter. And we would like to note that the area has been historically disturbed. Prior to the construction of this accessory structure in 2018, there was an existing greenhouse. I measured approximately 40 feet by 100 feet. So almost double the size of the structure originally that was out here. So the site has already made some improvements, reducing the footprint for this building. Part of this new project, we will be removing an existing concrete foundation, which is obviously currently impervious. So that's going to help us out a little bit with the groundwater infiltration, surface water infiltration. So basically the public interest would be, a little improvement on the habitat area in the mitigation, as well as some improvements to the surface water quality through the proposed vegetation and the removal of the foundation.
Okay. So the BVW was accurate, but the isolated wetland down below, isolated land subject to flooding, was not accurate before. So it looks like you guys did blue ribbons.
I don't think we hung anything out there. I was on site for this personally. So based on the observations provided in the staff report showing some watermarks on the trees, we determined the flood elevation to be 190.7 based on the plan. So we picked up some extended detailed topography around this delineation. And basically the blue line you're seeing here is the 190.7 contour. And that's essentially the limit of the flooding during the high water. So we revised the plan to horizontally depict that, as well as show the 100-foot buffer to the isolated land subject to flooding.
Okay, but there's a blue flag out there for me to confirm.
There is, yes.
Okay.
So there's a blue flag right near existing pink flag B2. That's on a tree, and then we basically located the blue flag, determined an elevation, and then expanded the topography to really detail, horizontally where that flood elevation falls on the rest of the property. We did chase it a little bit off-site without, intruding into the abutting property too much. We were able to get a detailed horizontal location. As far as calculating a volume of that water, we were not able to do at this time. It extends, 100 feet or so onto the abutting property. The client has pointed out that this area is dry approximately 9 months of the year. It's just these wet season months we're coming into right now that it does hold water. So.
Okay, yeah, it's off property, you certainly can't do that. The notation is okay. I noted in the staff report it might also serve as a vernal pool. So I just have to go out and check the blue flag that you guys have on the tree.
Yeah.
Concrete blocks and the containers up against the wetland. You said the concrete blocks can be removed in the trash or whatever junk is out there.
I believe we.
You have a note.
Yeah, we added a note number 15 to the plan requiring the removal of the blocks and debris.
Okay, and just noted emerald ash borer infested one of the trees. If whoever's property that's on, you probably want to take that down right away before it infests the rest of the trees in the area. And then old wetland netting, sediment control is still up on the property and that should be removed near that isolated wetland.
Yep.
So those were all the comments that I had. Thank you for answering most of them while I was on vacation, but I wasn't able to do that final site inspection. But now that I know there's a blue flag on there, I can go and do that before the next meeting.
I was hoping you could just explain a little bit more about the historic disturbance on the site. What had been disturbed prior to the proposal of this project?
Yeah, again, as I had mentioned, relatively recently, 2018 was the last kind of major work on site. Where this accessory structure is, if you were to kind of double that distance towards the east, there was an existing 40 by 100 foot structure that went basically right up to the edge of the wetlands here. Historically, that had been removed. This area in the back, the client, he's lived here his whole life. He thinks it used to be a chicken coop or a small structure on this concrete slab in the back. So this was kind of opened up, allowing access to that. No significant historical use with the rest of the area that I'm aware of. It is, wooded, and it has been for a while.
So the paddock clearing would all be a new use for the site.
Yeah, yes, I would say so, with the exception of this concrete slab area at the beginning.
Yeah. And could you tell me a little bit about like the tree density that we're talking about back there?
Tree density, yeah, I had to fight through it all doing the survey.
Yeah.
It's a lot of lower pines, a lot of 1 to 2 inch white pines through this area. There are some, I believe we had a lot of some oaks in the upland, maples in the wetlands. I would say it's a pretty dense lower level vegetation. It's noted wooded on the plan.
Yeah.
There are some trails cut through, some game trails. I don't know how much pedestrian access there really is, but there's, there are some paths, to get out towards the back that we were able to kind of utilize to get around and do the stakeout work.
And we're talking about in total about 23,000 square feet of clearing.
Yeah, outside of the 50-foot buffer,
Yeah.
which is basically the whole proposed clearing. Yes.
Okay. And there's a plan to save larger trees, remove the underbrush. Have we defined what larger trees are? Certain radius, diameter?
I don't believe we have.
Okay.
The commission has any input on that. Typically larger trees to me, can be 8 inches, 12-inch diameter, but I guess that's up to the commission and what the client's willing to accept. Obviously, we need to clear out enough where, it's not an impedance to the horse and, to the site access, but we definitely want to leave a lot of it for, shade and protective reasons.
It's probably likely we'll have some eaten bark in the process too. Jennifer, do you have any input on that?
Yeah, just that would really be up to the applicant to make that proposal to the commission, not for us to decide what's out there and what's appropriate. So if you guys can take a look at that and decide, make that proposal to the commission for them to make a determination, that would be
very good.
Yeah, thanks.
Any other comments from the commission? Mike, you got something?
No, actually, Ben, you had mine. My biggest concern is just the amount of trees, and for me, it was really anything 10 inches or bigger. Especially being with the upland trees, being hardwood, just food reduction for other animals that are out there. So I'm just curious, kind of what that number would be. The acorns these days are kind of getting short, so just have a good number would be good.
Very good. So sounds like we're continuing this to the next meeting.
Just for a handful of items.
Yeah. Peter, I take it that works for you and your client?
Yeah, that's more or less what we anticipated. We were just looking to get some, final comments from the commission.
Jim, what's the date of the next meeting? I should have that.
2/27.
All right, so I'll make a motion to continue to Washington Street to February 27th, 2023.
Spade, second.
Roll call vote.
Benson, aye.
Carol, aye.
Rossman, aye.
Spade, aye.
Very good.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, everybody.
So just to recap on that, aside from the tree analysis or the tree plan, were there any other significant revisions that we were looking for? I think all the comments have pretty much been addressed.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Was there anything else, Jennifer?
No, just for me to go out and look at the blue flag to make sure I agree with the elevation of the isolated land subject to flooding, and then the commission will just make their determination on whether the waiver requirements have been met.
Okay. And is it appropriate to ask if the commission is accepting of the waiver requirements at this time, or?
So basically you have the mitigation area is proposed in the same area it was proposed from the previous application, but enlarged a little bit. Is that correct, Peter?
Yes.
And is that adequate mitigation for the amount of clearing that's proposed? That's for the commission's probably going to want to think about that for a minute. I don't think they're going to have that decision for you right now.
Sure. Yep. And just to reiterate, this mitigation area isn't for the entire site. It's just for the site access within the 50-foot here.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay. We can chat about that next time.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you all.
Thank you, everybody.
All right, moving on to 9 Alderwood Drive, Richard and Jennifer McGee, applicant ECR representative, notice of intent for a proposed deck in addition.
Good evening, members of the commission. Brad Holmes of ECR here for this application. Good evening. We've submitted a notice of intent for 9 Alderwood Drive. The applicants are Richard and Jennifer McGee. I can pull up my plan and share it if that's okay with you.
Please.
Can the commission see my screen?
Yep.
Great, thank you. We've submitted a notice of intent for the single-family residential property here tonight, Alderwood. The site contains a single-family home, a paved driveway, well-maintained lawn and landscaped area, and deck at the rear of the house.
I'm sorry, Mr. Trump, just to interrupt you. I think Mr. Callie from the past application is still on. I just want to let him know that his phone may be on and he's unmuted. I just heard something coming from that.
Thanks.
Just wanted to give him fair warning, that's all.
Sure. Site contains a USGS map intermittent stream that's been delineated here in blue at the left-hand side of your screen. That is part of the Black Brook, and actually when it's mapped by USGS as a light blue line, but when you run the Stream Stats program, it has a watershed area in this location at greater than a half square mile, so that makes it a perennial stream. So we have a perennial stream with 200-foot riverfront extending from those bank flags. We have a bordering vegetated wetland that's delineated on the plan in green, and we also have a FEMA bordering land subject to flooding elevation 15 that's running somewhat in line with the bordering vegetated wetland. What we're looking to do in this project is to construct a proposed addition at the rear of the house and then rebuild the deck within the general footprint of the existing deck. The proposed deck would be a little bit larger than the existing deck. The proposed addition would include a new basement foundation, and there's a retaining wall along the west side of the addition as well. As we're in the riverfront area, this would be a riverfront redevelopment project. We have to mitigate any of the new degraded area that would be greater than 10% of the site. So accompanying with the proposed project would be a proposed mitigation area of approximately 904 square feet, which is a 2-to-1 ratio of mitigation to mitigate the area of new degraded beyond 10%. The existing site is just under 10%, but when we added the new activities, it is over 10%. Therefore, we need to mitigate that. So what we proposed is to remove an area of lawn at the back property and revegetate with native saplings and shrubs in a native seed mix so that we increase the vegetated buffer to the wetland and buffering the stream. Of course, we'll put in erosion controls prior to the start of work. I'll go back to the site plan from land surveying. They've detailed a dewatering area. We have some stockpile location details on the plan. And also there's conservation posts along the rear of the site that's shown on the plan here. So with that introduction, that's the overview of the project without getting too far into specifics. So I'll ask if you have any questions.
Jennifer, any comment on this?
Yeah, we do have a file number. I'm not sure if you mentioned that, Brad, but it's 1521763. We do have a butter notification. There was a question about adding the elevation for the top of the wall and the bottom of the wall.
And we got that into your office today, so you haven't had a chance to look at it, but it
looks like it's right there on the plan.
Right there in the plan. I don't know how to zoom in on this.
Okay.
Here, but.
And what about the height of the wall? So you have a wall and then an addition. I'm just trying to figure out if there's grading happening. It's just not showing on the plan, and just trying to picture what that's going to look like.
We did get an architect's rendering a little detail, I haven't included that detail. But I think the retaining wall is and so we don't have that amount of grading in the back. But I can get you some more detail on that.
Okay, but so there'll be the retaining wall, then a little bit of fill, then the foundation.
Correct.
Yeah, okay. But only on one side, not on the other side.
Yes.
Oh, because there's a bulkhead. Okay. Okay, and then I just had a note that the compost is getting a little bit close to the drainage area, the drainage easement. So just a note to be mindful of that. Don't go any closer into the drainage basin. And there's a tiny bit of trash and wood that's in the wetland. We'd ask you to pull that out, or your client to pull that.
Yes.
And that's about it. And then there were some notes from DEP with your file number about ongoing conditions that are required when we're in the redevelopment area for Riverfront.
Yep.
Yeah, that's all I have.
Okay, this is all happening in existing lawn?
It is.
Okay.
Do have a photo of
That'd be great.
see that. It's not the best
Yeah.
photo, but you're kind of looking out over the location of the addition, and that's the existing deck. So it gives you a feel for the project area.
Okay. Any other commissioners have comments on this one?
All good, Ben.
Jennifer, do you need additional information here?
No.
Okay. Any public comment? Shockingly none. Motion to close the public hearing on 9 Alderwood Drive.
Benson second,
Roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Crossman, I.
ADI.
Motion to issue a notice of intent as proposed for 9 Alderwood Drive.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Crossman, I.
ADI.
Very good.
Thank you very much.
I think we might have you for the next one, so don't go anywhere yet.
Won't.
Continued hearing and possible deliberations. We're moving on to 95 Belmont Street. Applicant is Environmental Consulting and Restoration, notice of intent for vegetation management activities. Continued from the December 19th, 2022 meeting.
Thank you. Brad Holmes here again for 95 Belmont Street. As you said, this was a continued hearing. I'll share my screen. So the last meeting with the commission, we went over the details of the proposed vegetation management activities. I had previously met with Jennifer on site and we refined some of those activities, and that has been included in this revision. One of the aspects the commission was looking for is that we finalize a plan so that the proposed conditions are on an engineered survey plan. This plan has been prepared by MBL Land Development and Permitting. This is the existing conditions plan showing the property, the commercial building with the paved parking area, lawn and landscape. You can see the wood line in the back and the bordering vegetative wetland that's in the back with the associated buffer zone. And there's also a FEMA bordering land subject to flooding resource area, an A zone that overlaps from the wetland process onto the front of the site. We've added that detail to the site plan, and then included with that was a new proposed conditions plan showing some more details with development related projects at the front of the site. There's handicap accessible markings in the pavement that wouldn't have any impact to conservation matters, but there's also a proposed concrete 12 by 12 dumpster pad at the edge of the pavement. There's a proposed handicap accessible ramp that would enter, or that be constructed to enter the front of the building. That would be within the bordering lands of flooding resource area, but it's going to be a wooden ramp with Trex decking, so it doesn't have a earth fill associated with it that we would be worried that would need to due to compensatory storage. There's a fence that would appear to be the property's fence, which is actually off property, but we're looking to remove that fence and reconstruct a new fence along the property line here. These are all details that weren't included in the vegetation management plan, but we wanted to have everything covered as we move forward. The vegetation management plan that I discussed with the commission is here. There's basically 4 shaded areas, and each area has vegetation management activities to remove invasive vegetation. There's few leaning trees, one is dead, and there are other that are leaning or hazards to the property that we discussed. And those vegetation management activities that are shaded here that are in the buffer zone are also included as part of the filing. So we're happy to present this back to the commission as a more polished product with a better site plan so that we move forward with any questions now.
So the amount of work has been reduced to be mostly the outside, the outer 50 feet of the buffer zone. So that's one of the improvements to their plan. Commission would probably just condition, if you're using herbicides, that you provide the herbicide license and the DS sheets if those are used.
Sure.
And that's about it. You explained the accessible ramp is not going to have an impact on the flood zone. And that was the last remaining question I had from before.
I have no questions. Any other members of the commission? This is a significantly improved plan from the one we saw. All right, any public comment on this project? Shockingly none. I assume you'd like to close, Brad?
That would be great. Yes, we would.
Motion to close the public hearing on 95 Belmont Street.
Benson, second.
Roll call vote.
Benson, aye.
Carol, I.
Crossman, aye.
Spady, aye.
Beatty, aye. Motion to issue a notice of intent as proposed for 95 Belmont Street.
Crossman, second.
Roll call vote.
Benson, aye.
Carol, I.
Crossman, aye.
Spady, aye.
Very good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
You too.
So moving on to certificates of compliance. Let's begin with 244 Prospect Street. Thomas Powers, applicant Collins Civil Engineering Group, representatives request for partial certificate of compliance, RCOC, for construction of a single family home.
Yeah, it looks like Peter is
Peter's
gone.
with us.
Oh, is he? Oh, there he is.
Yeah, he's up.
Sorry. Peter, you're still here. And Tom is here. Peter may not be there.
I got a feeling he'll be back.
Yeah. So the house is done, but some of the outside work has not been completed yet.
Yeah.
We needed confirmation that 1,200 square feet of excess fill was removed, and Mr. Powers has provided statements that it has been removed. It's a little tough to see on the plan, and so they revised it. The roof and the driveway runoff were directed toward stormwater management. There's a restoration plan, which I think was about 1,800 square feet that has not been planted yet. And that also requires annual inspection reports. One of the buffer zone markers is actually in the middle of that restoration area, and so it should be moved further inland. The site is stabilized. There's a lot of stone at the very front near the road. And so I requested an itemized list of the remaining items so that you could either require or request the surety. So we still need to do the fence, the as-built plans, the plants, monitoring and then move that one marker. So it's, you know, all of those things combined with 2 monitoring reports, it's roughly $4,200.
Okay. So you think a partial can be issued with a $4,200 bond
Yes.
for the remaining work? Right. Any public comment? I'm sorry, I should have begun with any, I'm still getting used to this, guys. Any comment from the commission? Any public comment? Do you guys want to wait for Peter or close this one out?
I think we're good.
Motion to order a partial certificate of compliance and request a bond for 244 Prospect Street.
Benson, second.
Roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, aye.
Rossman, I.
ADI.
Okay,
All right.
good. Yeah, their closing is coming up, so I'm sure they're happy that's going to be finished.
So it's good to even do partials.
Yes.
670, so moving on, certificate of compliance, 670 Washington Street. Applicant Richard Crystal, request for certificate of compliance for septic upgrade.
At the last meeting, you had all agreed that the pavement should be saw cut so that it is the approved amount of paving. That information was conveyed to the contractor on the 24th of January. Because I've been on vacation, I haven't heard anything since, but I also don't have any emails or phone calls saying that it was done. So I don't know if anybody's on the meeting today to let us know or show a picture or something so we know it was done.
Anyone here for 670 Washington Street? Please put your hand up if you'd like to be called. All right, I say we ask for follow-up one more time. So we'll continue this to the next meeting.
Okay.
Everybody in agreement with that?
I like it.
All right, motion to continue the certificate of compliance on 670 Washington Street to the February 27th, 2023 meeting of the Conservation Commission.
Spady, a second.
Roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, aye.
Rossman, I.
ADI.
Moving on to board discussion. Anybody have an opportunity to review the minutes? We got 1-9 and 123. Al, I know you got a couple comments.
No, I don't this time.
Nothing on either of them?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Any?
Good, because I only have one screen and it'll be a little tricky for me to get out of this meeting so I can make the changes now.
Anybody else? Any comments? I didn't have any either.
Good.
So I guess we'll do this in one, we'll do a motion to accept the minutes of January 9th, 2023 and January 23rd, 2023.
Spady,
Second.
second.
Roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, aye.
Rossman, I.
ADI.
Very good. I guess I'm the chair. I don't have any updates for you. Jennifer, any updates?
No, I don't. Today was a bit of a whirlwind now, so I don't have any.
Al, any CPC updates?
We haven't had a meeting since our last meeting. It's the one that is scheduled this month is for the 23rd. That's going to be basically to go over 4 applications for the school sports maintenance.
Awesome. So with that, we'll go into executive session. So did anybody have anything that wasn't anticipated they want to bring up? All right, I'm just working down the agenda here, guys.
I mean, I got the script like Mike.
I got the script.
Doing great. Doing great.
The board now intends to go into executive session to discuss I have it written as a litigation matter, but I guess we'll leave it as that. As
Could we have
noted
10 minutes?
in the public notice. What's that?
Could we have 10 minutes to get over there?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
So I'll move that the Conservation Commission enter into executive session to discuss strategy with respect to the lease of the property managed by the commission. Roll call vote.
Benson, I.
I think I probably should have done Looking for a second on that motion to go to executive session.
Second.
There we go. Roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Rossman, aye.
ADI.
All right, I'll see y'all in 10 minutes.
Just a second. So you just need to let everybody know we're going into executive session. We are not be returning to the regular meeting. So we're going to close right now.
Thank you. What she said.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Recording.